So the day of Road Bike Champs came around, which was the end of April, and we'd had some okay weather in the spring. I'd done a few races, used this bike for a couple of time trials, and it was literally a couple. I'd done one Club 10, biblical weather, it was horrendous, and broke the course record. So I knew I was in a reasonably good place from that race. But because the weather was so bad, it was kind of difficult to judge, too many kind of controlled things to analyse. The following weekend I went straight into a local open, and again on a back road course. It had a nice 6-minute drag in the middle of it, which arguably suited the road bike more. Managed to win overall by a couple of seconds, and from some very good riders as well. So again, knew that it was working. Despite all of the testing that we'd done being around and optimised for braking 18 minutes, at the slower speeds at this point in the year, it appeared to be working as well. Some of that we now know is negated by the fact that I was pedalling really well. The power at the start of the year was, by my standards, very good. And at the slower speeds, the aerodynamics on this setup doesn't work quite as well, but the power was good, which was covering some of those losses basically. So 2 races down, and at this point I decided now was the time to launch the bike. And by launch, all I really mean is show people what we'd put together. I knew it wasn't breaking any rules. I knew arguably it was going to divide opinion, but the blunt reality of that is I used a tri-frame in 2023, and not one person proposed a rule change to the CTT to stop us using tri-frames in 2024. So I used a better one. It's quite simple. And so at this point, I was so focused on what the end goal was that the division in opinion on whether it's a road bike or not wasn't of too much interest, because there was still a job to do, and George the cyclist took over more than anything else. There's, an Instagram reel that I posted of the bike that did quite well at the start of the year.
Introducing the Argon 18 E119 Road.
Yo, you want to see something cool? No? Well, I'm gonna do it anyway.
Step into the scene. No, nobody can do it like me. Zoop house plate with the kick cuisine. I was the black top king. 360s in my green machine.
Argon had supported me with the bike, so it was nice to be able to actually get a bit of social media out for them. But my role at that point was very much turn up on the day and give the best representation of myself that I could, and really show that 6 months nearly of hard work in every aspect could pay off for me as a cyclist. And that was what happened. It wasn't the smoothest of races. It wasn't a pleasant day. The weather was awful. It was cold. And I never thought I'd be that person, but I was warming up on the turbo trainer with my other half and my mum holding the umbrella so that I wasn't getting rained on. And I'm not proud of that. But everybody, I think at that point, could see what it meant to me to be there, and what the hard work meant. And they'd all seen what was going into it. And yeah, I don't think anybody that knew what I'd done would probably not have bet against me on that day, apart from me, because I've never won a national before. I've never done a solo podium. So I had no good reason to go into that race thinking I'm going to win this. So I wasn't. It was, like I said earlier, it was a byproduct. That race on that day was simply a byproduct of all the work that we put into it, which is what most bike races are. If you do the preparation, you do the work, the race itself is, like I said, as long as you get to within a couple of % of where you should be, there's only so much can change at that point. There's only so many variables in a time trial, it's the reason that it's just maths and science, and we can work it out now. And I'd gone into that day saying that on that course, over 22.4 miles, 29 mile an hour was going to win it. And for me, it was quite simple. That was what was going to win it. I know that on that course, on a time trial bike on a good day, I can do 30.5, 30.6. And the aerodynamic difference meant that 29 mile an hour was going to win that race. And averaged 28.9. So I wasn't far off. And it was awful. I'd ridden the course a couple of times in the week, so I knew there were 16 roundabouts in total, many of which were duplicates, so it was two laps of the same course basically. And I'd ridden it in all conditions, so I knew how it was going to ride when it was wet. I knew where the holes were on the roundabouts, even if they were covered in puddles. Everything that could be controlled was, and that felt like the right approach, because on the day, again, it wasn't very nice. Time trial in those conditions is never fun. And it's one of those things that once you get started, as long as you're focused, you can probably blank most of it out. And yeah, the focus was on taking time checks on the people around me, knowing where I was at compared to them. And this was where one of the biggest mistakes I made that actually worked in my favour was made.